turned up.
Yeah.
We should be good, right?
Yeah, hold on. Shit. Hold on.
Oh, this is terrible.
How about now?
I don't know. How about now?
It's going to take 15 seconds.
I know. This is terrible. Very unprofessional.
Extremely. We need a new tech guy.
Probably not. He's gone now. So I'm guessing for whatever reason, there's no audio going into Facebook.
That's weird.
Yeah, very much so. Are you going to check that out?
I am.
I mean, you could cut all this out on the...
I'm also on the Audacity, so in the long run, we have the whole thing.
Yeah, on the Audacity, we can cut this out. Whoever just stepped in, can you hear us?
Check. It's picking up the Oh wait. I'm also on the...
And it's the same on YouTube. What do you got going on over there, P?
It's picking up the
Well, Justin, turn the volume up on your phone, I think. Because we seem to be okay when we checked.
Yeah, I just brought it up on YouTube. It's doing the captions and everything.
Yeah, well.
Maybe it wasn't, and now it is. But
I don't know. Seems good to me. You checked on Facebook, though?
That's what that was. That was Facebook.
Okay, so we're good.
Yeah.
Maybe he forgot to turn his... Maybe he's probably hooked up... Yeah, I think you're hooked up to the Bluetooth in the other room, Justin. You got to unhook the Bluetooth, and then it'll play out of your phone.
So everybody missed the entire Tessie tribute, so we'll do a special episode for that.
We will have Tessie sit in on a particular episode.
That would be nice.
We'll invite her as a guest.
Get some, peanut butter and just have her just sit here and talk.
And swear. And have her sit there and... Yeah, no, it might have been, Just. We'll figure it out in post. As long as we're working now, we're in business, you know?
Yep.
So, let me look at my notes here. Oh, you know what? This is actually perfect.
Oh, good.
As we were earlier, when we walked in and we're setting up,
yeah,
we're listening to that podcast with...
The sneaker one.
The gentleman named Guapdad4000.
Yeah.
Who I'm sure he's a great rapper and wonderful artist. I'm sure he's got a great fan base and
sure.
they love him and
sure.
and all the stuff. But I had this thought.
Okay.
Rappers have never really particularly had normal-ish names. You know, we have had rappers, a majority of hip-hop has had kind of a regular-ish name or a cool-sounding name. But not until recently have we had an influx of goofy rap names. Guapdad4000.
Well,
XXX Tentacion.
So
who else do we got? Blueface, NLE Choppa, NBA Youngboy. You know, these are some of them so-so, but there's a lot of wild names.
Yeah, but is that actually the way it is, or is this a byproduct of you not having your hand on the current culture? And the reason I say that is when I go back to the golden era stuff, we had, even people who already had names like Nas, they all took on. There was Nas Escobar. Everybody else was a gangster from South America,
correct,
or Scarface, and all of these things. They drew from the culture of the time, the movies and the news and things like that. And these kids are just drawing from the slang and the culture that they have now. So are they really goofy names like Andre 3000? Is that much different than Guapdad 3000 or 4000?
It's half different.
Okay. Because of the Andre part?
Yeah. I mean, Andre is the guy's real name.
Right.
He added the 3000 because he's, futuristic funk. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get it. Also, a little bit silly.
Yeah.
But Guapdad, really, a lot of silly, right? But here's why I figured out that, the names keep getting sillier.
Okay.
Right? When we were kids, when I was a kid and you were in your 30s.
Mid-age, yeah.
We took nicknames. I never picked my own nickname.
No, somebody else has to assign it to you.
There was even a time when I didn't particularly like being called Cove. And I don't remember the science behind why I didn't like it. But there was a reason that I didn't want to be Cove. I just wanted to be Sean or something. And I don't remember why, but it was probably something silly. But we didn't pick our own nicknames. None of my buddies decided, hey, I'm going to be I'm gonna be Smoke Dog, or like, you know what I mean. I'm gonna
Right.
be
Right.
who else do I
For-
got? I'm gonna be Tommy Goose.
Right.
I'm gonna be Gavone. Like
Right. Something else has to happen, and then you get pinned with the nickname.
90% of the time,
Or
I am the guy who gave them the nickname because I'm the king of nicknames.
or like in your case, it's just a breakdown of your name in the first place.
Right.
So it was one of the two things. Some situation happened where you got labeled, or we're just calling you part of your name.
Right. But you never picked your own nickname. So now, the internet being what it is, when you get onto the internet and onto social media, you have to decide at that moment, what is my name going to be?
What you're at.
Yeah, what am I going to be? And I think that most of these rappers who are youngsters are just transferring their Instagram handle into their rap
To
name.
the rap name to keep
Because-
it branded.
Yeah, because really it's one and the same at that point.
Right, sure.
Which you give a 13-year-old kid Instagram and say, hey, think of a name. When I was 13, right,
You would have been Guap Dad 4000.
my AOL Instant Messenger name was Fat Lady 911.
There you go.
So you can't give a kid something. You can't expect a kid at 13 to pick the name that runs with him for the rest of his life.
Okay.
Unless it's his confirmation, obviously. And then
Yeah, well,
you
yeah.
you pick a saint's name.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's why we're dealing with such goofy names in hip hop right now.
I mean, they still have the option to like change the name, right? It's not. I understand what
But
you're
then
saying
you
about.
ruin your whole brand that you've built from 13 to 16
Don't you
because
just-
you blow up at 16 nowadays.
Well, yeah, you can't. But you can't just link them together. Like if your name is that bad, I'm sure you can transition out of it.
I guess it depends on how big you blow up.
I guess, yeah.
You know how much clout you have.
Right.
Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Right.
The kind
Well-
of name is that? You know what I mean? You know who I love though out of these new rap guys?
Okay.
These new rap guys.
Kids these days.
Yeah, and this guy's he is a kid. He's like 16, maybe 17. NLE Choppa.
Familiar.
So NLE Choppa he's got some joints that I like.
Yeah, I can see that.
But more so than his joints, I like to watch his path of growth to an adult. I
Okay.
like watching him grow into a man. Because at 16, if you had given me millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever kind of money he's making,
You'd probably be dead now.
Well, no, here's the thing. I couldn't die. I was pretty invincible.
The only reason you couldn't die is because you weren't funded well enough.
No, I mean, I've tried pretty hard. Up until fucking 35, I've been trying to die.
Right.
We've went over this a few weeks ago with the New Orleans story. Right. I cannot die. I am invincible. And it's not, I'm sorry if anybody's like upset about it or if you're jealous. This is just the hand that the universe given me. They have made me indestructible.
Right.
And I think that at 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, you gave me all that money, I would just be that much deeper in the streets. Like, I have never bought a prostitute,
Okay.
but I think if I had hundreds of thousands at 16,
You would.
I would have definitely hired the hottest 24-year-old hooker that I
You
could
would get
to
like a
come
bunch
over.
of them and just have them
Yeah,
around.
3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But this guy, instead of, wilding, and I'm sure he does his fair share of wilding because he's 17 years old, he has like almost it's almost like he's gotten money, so now he can get comfortable and can kind of go on this spiritual journey where he's trying to kind of figure out what the world is about.
All right.
Which I think a lot of us are doing at 16, 17, 18, 19, 35,
Sure.
65.
Sure.
But I don't know how many of us address that that's what we're doing in our teenage years,
I don't think
or realize that's what we're doing.
I don't think you can. I think if you go to a circle of 16-year-olds and say, I'm doing some introspection and trying to figure out my path in life, they're gonna fucking harass you.
Right.
Unless you're already big enough and rich enough that you just get to call the shots in the circle and nobody has a say.
And so this kid's calling the shots.
Right.
He's like has planted a garden in his backyard, and he's always walking around his house barefoot in his underwear, and I think he lives with his
Those are
mom.
two very
which
different things to
which
point
is
out.
a cute thing. But it's just cool if you ever see his YouTube videos that are like outside of his rap songs. his personality, which speaks to the idea of a rapper being a brand and not an actual person. You could watch those two things and watch the brand NLE Choppa that is rapping about guns and, choppers in the back seat and doing drive-bys. And he does it well. I enjoy it when he raps like that. And then you watch the NLE Choppa YouTube personality or like his life where he's, sitting and standing in his backyard meditating and letting the sun hit him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I really like what that kid. I like that kid got money, and
I mean, as you don't have to agree with him, but as long as you're watching somebody at that age seemingly carefully apply their money to the world, it always
it's
looks
heartwarming.
Good. Yeah, it always
it's
looks
heartwarming,
good.
and the kids love him. So I think that's even a better thing.
Right.
There's two guys, from what I understand, and I'm an old man, but this is what I understand about the current rap generation is like there's two guys hanging out at the top, or two of the guys at the top are NBA Youngboy,
right,
and NLE Choppa. Right? So you got both ends of the spectrum of young kids under 18 who started getting a lot of paper
early.
NBA Youngboy is sitting in the joint right now awaiting trial for I'm not sure what. I'm sure it's some kind of violent gun charge, and he could be completely innocent, and I hope that he is. I hope it's just some bullshit. But the fact that he is kind of still, it seems he still has a foot in the streets.
Right. Now,
also, rewind. Shout out Mike Samola. Prof, what up? Justin, appreciate you being here. Samola said we sound good, no worries.
Good.
And Prof said 4 thinking emojis, so he must be hearing what we're talking about.
Good.
Not too long ago, NLE Choppa got a case put on him.
Okay.
Because he tried to break into an impound lot and get something that was out of his car, right? Which seems very 17-year-old. Like, it doesn't seem wild street dude. It seems like knucklehead 17-year-old and his buddies who had a few drinks that night and said, like, fuck it, let's go get whatever's in the car that he's fucking trying to steal back. It's probably a thumb drive for all we know.
Right. It's exactly what it is. It's knucklehead stuff, but it seems weird because you would think in his position, right? He seems like he would have the connections and the money to like go to the front of the impound lot and just tell the guy, hey, here's $1,000. Go to this car and just get this out for me.
No, and I'm sure he does, but he's also still 17.
Yeah.
So
you're not going to shake all of it.
Yeah, you can only grow so much ahead of yourself.
Right.
You can't be all the way ahead of yourself, which makes me also think of another thing that me and you discussed briefly this week.
Okay.
And goddamn it, you better not bring up what you're not supposed to bring up. All right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Listen, if Payday starts talking about Walgreens, it's all a complete lie, and the fucking gig is over tonight. All right. So we watched. We both had partook in watching a phenomenally entertaining video about different fragrances.
Different scents.
A gentleman named Jeremy Fragrance.
Right. It's good that that's his last name because that's what he specializes in.
Yeah, I don't know. It's great that it worked out that way.
Yeah. That's not that way for everybody.
Yeah. No. I don't specialize in Kovalevskis.
Right.
So, although I do specialize in Cove base. So
there's that.
It kind of works.
A little bit.
Jeremy Fragrance is probably he's an immigrant of maybe Eastern European descent, Russian possibly.
That
something.
seems somewhere in the Eastern Bloc. That seems about right.
Who wears he looks the part of a fragrance salesman.
Absolutely.
That's for damn sure.
He looks like not the department store one though, but like the one like when you walk into the really expensive store and then he pulls you aside to walk you through what you need to be smelling like.
See, I actually thought completely the opposite is that not even the department store. He is the store.
He's the perfume mania guy.
Yeah, exactly. Like inside of the mall that has all the perfumes.
The 4 for $20s.
And you're wondering, are these actually perfumes or are these just alcohol with a little bit of scent flavored in them? Bootleg shit, right?
Who can tell inside the store because the whole store smells like every bottle broke once.
You never know, right? So he's got his got his chest out. He's got his suit on, hair slicked back. Looks like he smells phenomenal, that's for sure.
That's absolutely right.
If I could tell one thing by looking at Jeremy Fragrance, he looks like a party. He looks like he smells like a party. And,
I can see that.
And he brought us through a bunch of wonderful fragrances, such as Halloween Man X.
Yeah.
You know, what was the other one? Pegasus.
Right. There was
So it was a bunch that I never heard of. So I'll give him that. He's, he came with a very wide array of scents that I was
just that one, that Halloween
with.
Man X, I was familiar with.
You really were?
Yeah, I really was.
Oh, how does it smell? Did you smell it ever
Yeah.
before?
So I think it was like my wife was gone for like a month, and she was coming back, and I was like, I'm gonna go over the top with when she comes back because it was a month.
Do a little romance.
Yeah, and so I'm like, all right. So like her favorite thing in the world, besides me, is coffee. So let me find some fragrances that smell like coffee or somewhere thereabouts, and that was one of the ones that came up, and it's pretty good. It's not bad.
Polo Red Rush Extreme has the coffee,
right, and leather, right?
The coffee and citrus, coffee and blood orange, I believe.
Okay.
Now, does Halloween Man X have an actual coffee smell to it, or is it kind of an undertone that you don't really get? You wouldn't really be able to pick out coffee.
No, it's a right after you grind the beans.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's not super pungent. It's not like walking into a Starbucks.
Yeah.
But it's like you just ground the bean so it's in the air a little bit.
Okay. And
So
then it has some other things mixed in there.
Yeah, it's subtle, but the coffee is definitely there.
So it's worth checking out.
Yeah, especially it was the budget one. Like for Jeremy was telling you that one was only like $30. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, not my words, but Jeremy Fragrance said it is a sex beast.
Yeah.
A sex beast of a scent.
Can confirm.
Yeah, and payday confirmed. So there you have it. If you are looking to get laid, Halloween Man X is the best $30 you could ever spend. But it brought me to thinking, right, that there is a class of colognes that we would probably consider starter colognes, right?
Yeah.
Because not everybody gets deep into fragrance. I am just now at 35. I've always smelled fresh because I am the creator of the 10 Fresh Commandments.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm the freshest kid out here. My headstone will confirm when I die. If I do, I am indestructible.
Right.
But I am just now kind of getting deeper into the fragrance world.
Okay.
At 35 years old. I always smelled good, but I was never really didn't put too much thought. I had a couple of flavors I liked, and I always had one of those.
But you weren't looking any deeper than the ones you liked. They're on the tray, and that's good enough.
And that was it. It was on top of my bureau. Take a couple sprays, I'm good to go.
Right.
So now I'm kind of delving deep into that world. It started with my Scentbird subscription.
Okay.
And that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love it. I don't love every scent they send me.
No, but that's okay.
But I like having the option of getting a different one each month.
Right.
Actually, Prof, this is funny, right? If I was black, I would be Prof, and if Prof was white, he would be me, right? And we figured this out not in the previous 25 years of our friendship,
but just now.
But when we stayed in New York together, like I pulled out a fresh pack of Polo tees that I bought and didn't open to bring to New York.
Yeah.
He pulled out a fresh pack of Polo tees that he didn't open and bring to New York. I'm like, where do you want to go? I'm cool with whatever. He's like, I'm cool with whatever. You got to make the choice. I'm like, all right, here we go. I pull out some cologne. I'm getting sprayed down. He's got his cologne. I'm like, what is that? He was like, oh, I got it from Scentbird. I'm like, oh, this is what I got from Scentbird. So we decided to trade Scentbirds because what he had got that month he wasn't so into. I was a little bit into mine, but not so much. So we traded off.
Oh, good.
But anyway, I say that to say that's what has kind of started me in the lane of digging deeper into scents because now I have the option to easily try different
things
stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But as a teenager, when I started wearing cologne, because I'm trying to impress the babes, because really that's what we're wearing cologne for.
That's what it's all about, yeah.
Until you grow into a guy like me, and then it's just about staying fresh.
It's about you, yeah.
Yeah. I'm married. I smell like work half the time,
right.
You know? There's a category of colognes that we would call your starter colognes.
Yeah.
Your Dracar Noirs.
Right.
Your Nauticas.
Your base Nautica.
You said polo green, which I'm on the fence about.
Okay.
But I'll give you I'm okay with that being your entry into polo cologne.
So without casting aspersions, the polo green is like the least finely tuned of their scents. Like you get to like the polo red extreme and it's got coffee and it's got blood orange. Like the green polo is like it's just a general scent. It's a general fresh scent. And that's why I'm saying it's not a bottom tier cologne, but it's the bottom tier for polo. And then once you get into it, then you're like, okay, I like these smells. Okay, well, let's pivot over here.
It is definitely polo's bottom tier. It's probably the polo cologne that I am least into.
Sure.
We got a mention of Gravity, Hugo Boss in the chat.
Right.
Actually, one of my first colognes was Hugo Boss. It was a tall. I think it was Hugo Boss. No, Hugo Boss was a journeyman's cologne for me.
Okay.
Right. But also, Hugo Boss is a good scent. I don't know that I would wear it today. I will have to smell it again to see.
To remember.
Yeah, but I used to love Hugo Boss, the
right.
blue one. I got the black Hugo Boss on Scentbird a few weeks back.
Okay.
Not bad. Not great, not bad. I think I like the blue one better. Perry Ellis 360 was in there.
Yeah.
That was one of my first ever.
Cool Water was a
Water.
classic.
Yeah, that absolute classic.
Yeah.
Cool Water was. And if you go like really, here's like really your first, you're allowed to wear this cologne in the 6th grade to a 6th grade dance, but once you get to 7th grade, this has to be retired.
Right.
Old Spice.
Oh yeah. Well, any of those that come in like a shaker bottle.
Yeah. You're allowed to wear Old Spice for
After
1
shave.
year, from 12 to 13, and then
you
got
to figure your own shit out.
Yeah, you got to get it together at least enough to go down to your local pharmacy and pick something up.
They have enough options.
Something
there.
that's not an $8 bottle.
Right. You got to go to at least $20 plus tax.
I wish I could remember what my dad wore. Paul Sebastian.
Okay.
And it was terrible.
Sure.
Quite frankly. Quite frankly, I would love to have been the guy who snuck into my dad's bathroom and took a spritz of cologne on my way to school.
Right.
But Paul Sebastian was terrible. But he liked it.
My
it's a
dad,
different generation, I guess.
My dad didn't wear a scent. He was a salesman, so it was always about being as non-offensive as possible.
Right.
So his concern was always, if I put on a scent and somebody doesn't like it, it's going to fuck with my abilities.
Yeah.
So he didn't have a scent. My grandfather had a lot of Avon collection, and the colognes all smelled like shit, but
leather.
A glass car.
Avon
like there was
leather.
a glass car. There's
Yeah.
a Hort. Like
yeah, they
all
had
these
cool
really
bottles.
cool bottles. But
I think I vaguely remember a steer, like a horn.
Yeah.
Longhorn, a longhorn.
A longhorn,
Yeah.
right? So like the Stetson cologne.
Yeah.
So I didn't go with his scents. So I had like the starter kit. Cool Water was a big one, and then I transitioned over to Aqua de Jo.
Yeah.
And then
that's another classic starter cologne.
It wasn't until Sephora showed up around here, because you used to be able to go in and they would pour you a little like 10-pump spritzer of 3 different colognes to take home with you for free.
Oh, okay.
And you could just keep coming in and getting different ones and take them home, because they have like it's not going to smell the same in the store sort of policy. So you take them home and you figure out if you like them or not.
Right.
And then it branched out, and then it became a problem because I went from like $25 for a bottle to like the ones that I really like are $150, $200 a bottle, and I can't fuck with that.
Not at 16.
I can't. I'm not out here buying Bravado colognes for $250 because it comes in a wicker bottle.
One that I used to really like was I used to go to my buddy the Jedi's house, and the Jedi wore something. Oh, he wore the Abercrombie and Fitch cologne.
Okay.
Which was good. That was a good cologne, but he always wore it.
Right.
His secondary bottle was Dior Dune.
Okay.
And that was, from what I remember, a phenomenal cologne. I haven't been able to find it since to maybe get a little bit for myself. But so, there's the starter pack, and then you move on. Because you also start to realize that some of these fragrances not only smell one way, like not only do they maybe smell a little bit different outside of the store,
right,
but you're getting different potencies.
Yeah.
Some colognes will last you half the day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any cologne is going to last you more than half the day. Have you come across this yet?
No, and especially not me. the way I perspire, it's never gonna work for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm heavy on the cologne, bro. I'm heavy on it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm going to give you a reenactment right now. So if you're listening in audio, you're not going to really get the full effect. But here's my spray on. You know what I mean? A solid 7 or so sprays before I walk out the house.
You don't do like the cloud and then walk through the cloud move?
No. I was told, see, my mom hated cologne.
Okay.
And I think she was just faking I think she just didn't like it. But she would fake the funk and say, that makes me sick. Right. You can't wear it. And I'm like looking at her. I'm like, you look pretty well right now. Yeah. You just look annoyed. So let's switch that out. Just tell me you're annoyed with the cologne. Maybe I'll work with you. But you're lying to me here, Karen. So stop lying and I'll stop spraying so much damn cologne on. But that's how I was taught. You spray the cloud and walk through it.
Right.
It was, you're not supposed to smell you when you walk in the room. You're only supposed to be smelled when you're up close next to a girl or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, well, I want these bitches to smell me when I walk in.
They got to look like
so
dogs
they get close
to
me.
With their noses wrinkled
up
looking
exactly.
around.
So oils last all day. What are we talking? Are we talking like the Muslim oils? Because I can't do them. I've never found.
Oh.
I have found in my trip through the system.
Right.
Although cologne was probably a very rarity.
Yeah. Sure.
Sometimes, here's what we used to do, right? For visiting day, you would find a page from a magazine that was the cologne ad, and you would put that under your bunk on your jumper, right?
Okay.
So now it's compressing onto your jumper, and then before you walk out to go to the dance floor, a.k.a. the visiting room, you take that page and rub it all over you. And now, even though it was probably right now, like I would barely smell you if you did that.
Right.
Because you're locked up and everything smells so bad.
Right.
That was like, you could smell it a mile away, right? Just that page. So that page was, like, that was probably worth a good 3, 4, 5 items, in the joint. But also you would come across the Muslim oils because I think they were considered a religious item.
Okay.
And so they were available on commissary.
To put them through.
And but I've never found one that I really was into. Like I have also, like, every once in a while in my trips through these streets, I'll be on a subway somewhere in New York, usually Philly, I feel like.
Right.
And a guy comes through the subway and he's got a bag full of oils.
Yep.
And I say to him, I'm like, I'm not into oils. He was like, nah, what kind of cologne do you like?
Right.
And I say, I wear Hugo Boss. He was like, oh, I got Hugo Boss. And he's like, this smells just like Hugo Boss. And I'm like, oh, all right, bet. Let me see. I'll give it a shot. And it smells nothing like Hugo Boss.
Completely unrelated.
And I appreciate the hustle
right.
and the attempt to try and make a sale, but I just have never smelled an oil that I felt like I would wear all day.
I definitely transitioned to the oils when we started going to the gallery, the mall in Philly.
Yeah.
You would come up out of the subway and you would go into the gallery and, like, there was a cart right there with a guy who had all the oils. And I cannot remember what the combination was, but it was definitely something and vanilla, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it would last, because it was the oil, it would last a really long time.
If I could get cologne scents in oil strength,
right,
I'll be a happy guy. Vasily swears that Eau de Parfum will do that, but I have yet to really see that be the truth. We got guys in the chat. I've used them. Now I buy them and use them in my scent diffuser, which I think is actually probably a great idea because there are some of them that I would like. Like, I could go with Egyptian musk in the podcast room, but could I go with it on me?
No, not so much.
Just not for me. Prof wears Egyptian musk and amber white. I'm not familiar with amber white. I don't think that I've ever smelled that one. But Prof is a particularly fresh guy, so I respect.
Trust it.
But Prof is swooning a different genre of females than I ever was. So different scents work for different.
Right, you need different tools and different ponds.
Not different demographics.
Sure.
So that's that, right? That's our chat on starter cologne. You have anything that you'd like to add to the starter cologne chat? Because we just talked for about a half hour about cologne.
I was specifically advised not to add anything else, so we're good there.
Thank you. I got a new business venture.
Good. It's about time you came up with something
I haven't
new.
had
It's
one
been
in
a
a
couple
few
weeks.
weeks. Yeah, it's been a few weeks without a new business venture. So it struck me like a pickaxe against a dead tree root.
All right, well, give it to me so I can tell you why it's a bad idea.
As I think you know it, as I was digging holes in a customer's backyard, we have to dig these holes for footings for the deck.
Right.
They're usually supposed to be 12 inches wide, 36 inches deep.
Okay.
For some reason, the guy who looks at the permit, the inspector.
Yeah, the guy who inspects the permit. Yeah.
I know that guy. I forgot his fucking name. I forgot what they call him. For some reason, he wants to throw his weight around. He's one of these dickhead inspectors. He tells the customer, oh, no, 12 inches won't be sufficient. They need to be 14 inches wide, which is really no big deal. But the customer and the architect were kind of pissed at him because he was just changing things just to be changing things.
Right.
Nowhere in the code of New Jersey does it say that they have to be 14 inches wide. He was just being a jerk-off.
Right.
So we are digging these 14-inch wide by 36-inch deep holes in the midst of the 100-degree heat.
Yeah.
I think we had a heat index of 104 that day.
Yeah, with the humidity and everything.
It was rough. And we had to dig 12 of them by hand. You know, no machine. We had the auger, and that helped. But you still got to auger it and loosen everything up, and you're still post-hole digging the whole thing out.
Right.
So it took us till, about 3:30. Took us a full day to dig 12 holes that we had to dig. Also, we were trying to, get some shade in between time, and in the meantime,
hydrated.
drinking a little water.
Right.
The customer decided that on a 104-degree heat day, that the best lunch she should have given us was 3 meatball sandwiches.
At least it wasn't bowls of soup.
Yeah, well, she gave us, each of us gave us 3 meatball sandwiches.
Okay.
One was not sufficient.
Right.
She gave us 3, a pile of watermelon,
Okay.
and then a plate full of veggie sticks and some kind of Pringles that were spicy.
So you got the standard Italian birthday party sort of
Exactly.
spread.
I looked at her when we walked in for lunch. I said, do you want us to work or take naps on your couch? Because this is too much. I don't eat a lot for lunch anyway. But as we're doing this, I say to Gavone, I'm like, hey, Gav, you ever see that movie Holes?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, of course I did. I said, I don't remember the movie because I don't remember any movies, but I did read the book, and I do believe that the entire book was about juvenile delinquents digging holes in the desert.
Pretty much.
Here we are, 2 grown juvenile delinquents digging holes in the sunshine.
Right.
In a field.
Right.
And I thought to myself, I have come way too far in my life to still be digging holes.
The world needs ditch diggers too, Danny.
It does. My brain starts spinning, right? The movie, the holes, the lunch, the heat, the holes, the movie, the book, the meatballs, the heat, the sun, little water, tools, shovels. I'm spinning, right?
Right.
The wheels are turning. I started getting dizzy.
Sure.
I had to walk back over into the shade.
Gotta take a breath.
And then when I got to the shade and the overheating that was going on in my brain calmed down, my body was overheating, that temperature dropped a few degrees, it hit me that I should have juvenile delinquents here digging these holes, right? Now, not only will me, first I could relate to these guys, right? Because I was once a juvenile delinquent.
Yeah.
So now you're getting a role model who has come from where you've come from,
and made something of
who's
themselves.
made a little something of myself.
Well, enough of something that you can be proud of it.
I'm better than you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Look at the kid and say, hey, kid, I'm doing better than you are. I once was probably doing worse because I was the delinquentest of the delinquents.
Right.
Yeah, Prof, the meatballs were banging. Homemade meatballs, homemade gravy. She toasted the bread.
Perfect.
It was a fucking phenomenal meatball sandwich. And I'm not a guy who eats a meatball sandwich if it's not my mom's.
Right.
Right? I'm almost you'll never see me getting a meatball sandwich from Wawa, right? I won't do it. It's fucking sacrilegious as a half a guinea. I ate my first meatball sandwich from a deli just a few weeks back. Hand to God, 35 years, I've never gotten a meatball sandwich anywhere but my mom's kitchen. And this one I felt okay with buying it because the deli was in Hamilton. And in this neighborhood in Hamilton, the street signs had Italian flags on them.
Every street was like a saint.
Yeah. The deli was called In Ferrera's Deli.
Yeah, you're
In
good.
Ferrera's Grocery. They sold long hots on one shelf.
You're good.
You know, and the meatball was the special that day. If
Okay.
it wasn't the special, I wouldn't have got it.
Right.
But I walked in, I said, "Hey, last time I was here, this was the special. You had it written up there. What's the special today?" She said, "Oh, it's a meatball sandwich, $1 extra for cheese, a bottle of water." I said, "All right, give me the special."
I'll take it.
It was good.
Good.
I wasn't mad at it. I made the right choice. But I also have made the right choice, I think, by not
avoiding them in the
ever
past.
eating a meatball
Sure.
sandwich from anywhere else. So, but this lady, Tina, she's fucking super cool. Older Italian lady, beautiful house. When we went to pick up the check, I walked in.
You can't just stop the show to read.
I know. Justin's in the chat telling me that his kid came out of Camden Tech for construction. He's looking for side work.
Oh,
I mean, link him with
me. Does he want to dig holes?
If nothing else, I'm sure I can get him a couple of days of labor here and there somewhere over the next few months.
Yeah.
So when I go to pick up the check, don't let me forget the holes.
Right.
I'm going a lot of different side routes here.
You're sprawling.
Yeah. So when we go, I'm doing the job for my buddy Coop. Coop knows her. That's Coop's customer. He says, "Yo, I'm going to pick up the check. Why don't you meet me over there so you can meet the customer? I break you off your piece of the check." She feels comfortable. She knows who you are before you show up to work.
Right.
We look over the plan. So we're doing that whole song and dance.
Yeah.
I walk in and she says, Hey, Sean, how are you? I said, "I'm great. It's nice to meet you." She says, "What do you want to eat?"
Right away.
I'm like, "Well,
you guys look like you're hungry.
Since I just ate dinner 3 minutes ago before I came here, I'm cool. Thank you." She says, "You sure?" "I'm making lamb chops, chicken cutlets, and meatballs." I'm like, "No, not really. I'm good. I'm being polite, I'm good."
Yeah.
Although I wouldn't mind a lamb chop.
Yeah.
On the way out, we sat there and talked with her for like an hour because we were trying to figure out stuff with the material list. We're chatting with her. She's a nice lady. We're having a nice soda pop.
Good.
And on the way out, she says, "Well, listen, let me just make your lunch for tomorrow." I'm like, "Look, I'm not going to tell you not to, right?" And then
brown bagging you?
But then she busts out uncooked, just plain chicken breast.
Like
she's
starting from scratch.
"Yeah, I'm just going to make some cutlets for you real quick. Only be 5 minutes." We wound up there for another half hour waiting for the cutlets to be
You just
made.
thought she was going to bag up some leftovers and send
I thought I was
going to
get the lamb chop. She got lamb chop on the stove with mashed potatoes.
Fresh cutlets.
I got fresh cutlets. She threw a long hot in there, a little bit of rice. I wasn't mad at it. It was worth the wait. So anyway, my wheels are turning, right?
Right.
The one thing is I can relate to these kids.
Yeah.
Because and I think that it's something that I want to do that I haven't yet implemented anywhere really in my life is like that mentorship of talking to kids who are knuckleheads.
Right.
And saying and being like maybe the guy who's cool, who they can talk to a little bit, but also who has their best interest in heart and who's not going to send them on a dummy mission.
Right.
And I don't have that anywhere.
You're not going to send them with skateboards and backpacks to take catalytic
converters?
Go get
catalytic converters, right. That's a throwback to last week. So if you missed last week's episode, it's on the YouTube right now about how a convicted felon turned mayor runs a catalytic converter theft ring. Very interesting stuff. The other thing is, right, I'm giving these kids fitness. You know? Like they could be playing video games all day. Or they could be working on their back strength.
Yep.
Working on their back strength.
Get a little core in there.
They're going to get a nice little tan, sun-kissed, if you will.
Sure. You can teach them about scents while they're out there.
Well, they're going to need to learn because they're going to be smelling funky by the time they walk out of there.
Right.
And they're going to be helping out the greater good, which is my back and Gavon's back.
Yeah.
Right? 7-1 construction.
Exactly.
They're going to keep our backs nice and young so that we can use them in much better places.
And find better jobs for them.
Like when I come home and sleep with my wife. I need back strength for that. You know what I mean? And I'm willing to charge a minimal amount to the parents of these kids in order to whip them into shape and take them off their hands. Because what is it worth to you, right? On a hot summer day, to have to have Alessandro not at the house? What is it worth to you to get rid of your 10-year-old son who just wants to run around and act crazy on a hot summer day? You don't want to go outside and deal with that.
Well,
you don't want to go anywhere. You got work to do.
Apparently, it's worth about $75 a day because that's what it costs to send them to day camp.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to slash that price in half.
Well, look at that. $37.50.
$37.50, and I will take your teenage son for the day, whip him into shape, give him something to do.
Teach him some discipline.
Teach him a little bit of a trade at the same time.
Right.
Now, also, I'm not doing this for the benefit of me.
Well, no.
No, not at all.
No.
There's really very minimal benefit to me. Like, yeah, I get free labor. I don't have to do anything.
You're not getting free labor. You're getting paid to get labor.
I am getting reverse paid
Right.
labor. Yeah. I'm getting paid to hand out labor.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that seems like a huge benefit to me.
It does. It does in a certain way.
But it's not, because really,
how many? So you got a job site and you need to dig 12 of these holes. How many kids you bringing with you? Because you want to get it done in a reasonable amount of time.
Well, I'm going to start the.
You have 10 kids, two
I'm
for
going
each
to
hole.
start the 7-1 juvenile re-education camp.
Right.
With probably just 2 kids.
Just 2. Okay.
Now it's going to depend on what's on my schedule.
Sure.
Or
and
what's on. Listen,
how intensive it
I've
is.
already spoke with a few other business owners about this.
Okay.
Who are willing to help out. They're willing to donate their time to let kids get on their job sites and do the labor for payment.
Okay.
So I could probably very quickly grow this business into, 14, 15, 20 kids a semester. And by a semester, I mean now until they graduate high school. I could take them every day off your hands for $37.
For $37.50 a day.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I think that, it benefits everybody, really, except me. A little bit me, but mostly everybody else.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
What do you got? I'd like you to dissect maybe any holes that I have in this so that just in case this winds up turning ugly,
so the kids
we're prepared.
The kids don't get paid at all. Their payment is the discipline and the work ethic that you're teaching them.
Look, bro, they didn't pay me when they sent me to boot camp as a fucking teenager. Nobody was paying me. They just sent me. I was getting paid in life experience.
So here's.
I was getting paid in discipline. You know how important discipline is to me.
I do. So here's the only pitfall I can see to the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can fully understand why the parents would want to do it.
Right.
I can fully understand why you are interested in doing it, the mentorship and the leadership and also some help on the job site. If the kids are not getting paid and the parents are just sending them on their way, how are you motivating the kids? Because basically, I would think for the most part on your construction sites, the motivation is the pay. Hey, do your job and you'll get your money.
Yeah.
So now that you've taken that aspect of it away, what are you going to be using to motivate the kids to do their job and do it well and do it efficiently?
Here's the thing. This is about to get really dark.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to just keep it funky with you. So let's take your average juvenile delinquent.
Okay.
Dad's probably not around.
Okay.
A large percentage of the time, juvenile delinquency is based out of the broken family structure,
Sure.
in my humble opinion.
Sure. Okay, I'll go with you on that.
So now you're putting a 14-year-old kid. I'm old enough to have a 14-year-old kid.
Right.
But if I did, I'd be a pretty young dad. Look at this dog just staring at us. She's like, what the fuck is going on up here?
I told you. She's just hanging out.
Yeah. So I'd be a pretty young dad to have a 14-year-old kid. I feel as though.
Yeah, you would have had the kid when you're like 20.
Exactly.
That's what my parents did.
Our generation.
That's a long time ago.
It happens a little later. But also, it's not unheard of for a 35-year-old to have a 14-year-old kid.
No.
It's actually not really abnormal
It's not
at
terribly out of the bounds of normalcy.
No. But what I'm saying here is like, you might have a son who needs a strong male role model.
For sure.
I feel like I'm a strong male role model.
Okay.
On my job site, I'm just enough alpha and just enough beta to
compassionate.
to be tough enough on him that we whip him into shape, but also have enough
to break back a little bit.
To feel for the kid and not really kill him.
Slap him and then hug him.
Prof, you are kind of a young dad for the age that your daughter is. You had her. You were You were a youngster when you had her, for real, if we look back at it like that. Yeah, Prop's daughter's like 14. I can't fucking believe it. I remember when she was this big. So you have that, right? Like, I am filling the gap necessary, and I'm, like, pretty cool, if I must say so myself. So now this kid is not only getting, like, the discipline that he needs, and he craves it, even though he doesn't know that he craves it. This is a necessary thing in a young boy's life, is to have the discipline to turn him into a man, right?
Okay.
And to get it from a role model with this kind of freshness and swag is
It's just a bonus.
Yeah, which is why he'll be entertained. Like, he will be into going into the camp, if you will, on a regular basis, because not only does he get these things subconsciously that every teenage boy needs to grow into a man, but consciously he just enjoys hanging around guys like me and Gavone who are talking shit all day. We're listening to rap music. You know, we're generally having a good time while we're doing this. And so it's a whole learning lesson where not only, like, he's learning that this discipline can come with fun and entertainment. They can be one and the same. You know, some people in the chat are saying this is how foreign countries operate. I don't know. I'm only here in America.
I want you to think back to when you were 16, 17.
Yes.
And you were, by your own admission, a fucking mess.
Yeah.
Right? If your mom presented this to you, what would your reaction be? Hey, son, I want you to go work for free, and maybe you'll learn which cologne suits you the best when you're done.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. First off, I was presented with similar.
No, you weren't.
Yeah, I was sent to reform school.
Yeah, it's not the same thing when a judge remands you somewhere.
Well, here's what I'm about to tell you.
Are you going to line up with the justice system here?
I'm already running for mayor. I don't know why I wouldn't be associated with the Juvenile Justice Committee.
So now, you're on the.
And here's the bonus. The underground bonus is now I have a whole pool of henchmen to pull from for my catalytic converter theft ring.
Right, you can sort out who's going to be the best.
The cream
at
of the crop.
Right.
You guys come with me after work's over. We got another job.
You ready to triple your earnings?
Yeah. Hey kid, you're a real earner. I think you could really get out here and be somebody. We got another thing to talk about.
So we're gonna find a way to worm our way into the justice system to where the judges are now. You have a choice, son. You can go to jail for 30 days, or you can go work for 7-1 Industries for 90 days.
You could go to jail,
7-1
or you could go
camp.
to 7-1 Juvenile Delinquent Reform Camp. Re-education camp. Yeah, this is a re-education camp. So, I mean, really,
I don't think that means what you think it means.
No, it doesn't at all. At 16, right? At 16, going to jail sounds very scary.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So you're going to say, like, fuck that. I don't want to go to jail. I want to be at home every night. I want to be home so I can go, hang out with my friends and ride my skateboard. Yeah, son, bring that skateboard. Bring that longboard with you. I got a place. I got somewhere for you to longboard. And if you're listening now and you're not sure that place that the longboard goes, listen to episode 26. It'll explain the whole thing. So I think that probably I'm about to get this thing cracking. So if you're out there listening, you have a delinquent son, a delinquent 14, 15-year-old kid, hit me in the DMs. Send them my way. We'll get them straightened out by next summer.
Labor Day.
Yeah. Well,
you have them on the straight and narrow by Labor Day, and then next summer is when you really start fine-tuning them.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, when I went to reform school, we'll call it.
Sure.
Right? I did come out a much more dutiful son.
Did you?
I would take out the trash. So they ground into our heads, right? We would have morning meeting every morning. And they would ground into our heads like there was this thing called what was it called? It was a thing. I don't remember, right?
Sure. Obviously really set in there.
Yeah, but if, say you're walking down the hallway, right? You're walking down Poppin and Main.
Sure.
And there's a couple pieces of trash off in the corner. In morning meeting, you would go pick up the trash and throw it away, right? And then in morning meeting, you raise your hand. and you stand up and you go,
picked up the trash.
"Good morning, family. Who left their accepted attitudes in Poppin' and Main hallway?" Right? And attitudes were like pieces of trash and like things generally in disarray. And then if somebody walked by there and had left it, or maybe even thought they had walked by and didn't remember seeing it but might have left it, or had just been in the general area of Poppin' and Main at any time that day, they were supposed to stand up. At which point I would go, well, let me tell you guys, by leaving that piece of paper on the floor, it represents you leaving things out of place inside of your soul. And when you leave things out of place in your soul, things become in disarray. The next thing you know, you're into all types of negative feelings. You're ready to run out this back door, go use drugs, and you're starting this whole mess again. You're going to be homeless. You're going to be sucking dick for cocaine.
Sure.
Your mother's going to die because of stress, and you killed her.
Because you dropped your Reese's wrapper.
And all because you left that piece of paper in the hallway.
Right.
So that was like the idea of the whole thing, right?
Everything's a slippery slope in reform school.
Right. So I say that to say that kind of thing was ground into me.
Okay.
To the point where when I came home on like my little weekend passes or whatever, when there was attitudes in the fucking trash can, I took them out to the curb.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So it did.
You don't want them sitting in the house.
But a lot of my discipline began at Daytop Reformatory School.
Okay. While you were out shoveling holes?
They didn't have us shoveling holes.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time washing dishes, though.
Okay.
I was the guy, because you used to get shot down, right? When you were shot down, this place had its own language.
Okay.
This was where me and Oz were at.
Okay.
Old fucking Pennsville's finest.
Yeah.
Justin Malatesta is in the building, the finest project manager in all of Queens. Thanks for joining us, Just. Good to see you.
Those are strong words coming from you.
So this place had its own language, right? All types of fucking weird shit that when you first go and you start like hearing people talk, you're like, what the fuck are they talking about, right? So I used to get shot down to the pot sink. The pot sink was what it sounded like, and shot down meant you were in trouble, and so you had to clean dishes all day.
Okay.
And so many days I was in the pot sink from fucking breakfast until dinner. But I learned to fucking like I used to get in trouble while I was in trouble.
Compound trouble.
Because I wasn't upset about being in trouble.
It didn't bother you to be washing the pots.
I was like, well, fuck it, we're washing dishes then. I remember me and No Skills and Cuddy Dat were in there. Cuddy Dat was a special guy, man. Rest in peace, Cuddy Dat. He passed away way too young. Come on, Cuddy Dat. That's how he talked. He was great.
Okay.
Me, No Skills, Cuddy Dat, and Two Scoops would be in there and fucking washing dishes and singing Boys to Men. The acoustics in the pot sink were fucking phenomenal.
Sure. You got all that aluminum around and whatnot.
Not one of us could fucking sing. That's for damn sure.
Could.
But the acoustics in there blew your shower singing out the water.
Right.
So we would be in there singing, and then a counselor would come back like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Because they would curse at you and shit on you and stuff, right?
They were like just shy of being drill sergeants.
Yes, we're washing pots. They're like, this fucking singing shit is dead. You can't fucking sing in a pot sink. You want to be in here for another week? And we're like,
yeah, sure.
Whatever, dude. We're chilling. We got 3 of my homeboys. We're fucking singing songs and we're fucking working. You know what I mean? It's a whole lot better than what you fucks are doing, standing out there looking at a wall.
Right.
Listening to some asshole talk about, fucking there's no free lunch. So it was a lot of my work ethic and discipline spawned out of that place.
Okay.
Right? The idea of making your bed when you wake up in the morning.
Right.
Which I would do, but I have a wife and baby sleeping in it.
Yeah.
So, by the time I leave, the bed's
it's occupied.
Still got people in it. Right. I can't make. I should just start making it they're in there. Every morning, just like
tuck it all the way
flatten them out a little bit. You know what I mean? Put a pillow on each of their faces and then fucking pull the blanket up on top of them.
Good night, guys.
So yeah, a lot of my discipline came. That's where it started at, and I believe that I can be that for some other young knuckleheads. I truly do. The Yeezy Foam Runner.
Okay.
First, while I grab a bottle of water out of here. Do I have one over here? Never mind. Got one right here. The Yeezy. Tell me, actually, before I say anything, why don't you give me your feedback? Because you're a sneaker guy. You know enough. You're not. Me nor you are no screw tape by any means. No. but we're both have a pinky toe in the sneaker culture.
Sure.
We like a good pair of sneaks. We know a little bit about what's coming out, what's hot, what's not, you know. We know what we like for sure.
Yeah.
We both got a little bit of a collection. You'll be getting back to your collection soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll say no more about that.
Soon.
But what do you think of the Yeezy Foam Runner?
I don't think that there is a Yeezy at all that I like. I have this suspicion, and it'll never bear out. I'll never be able to get to the bottom of it. But I have this suspicion, and I will give him credit for being sort of a genius in this way. I have this suspicion.
Also, while you're chatting, anybody in the chat tell me what you think of the Yeezy Foam Runner.
Yeah.
The foot bag. The 2021 foot bag.
Right.
My man.
So I have this suspicion that, like, he's on this kick to where he wants to see how ugly he can make it and still have it get snapped up by everybody.
Yeah.
And so he keeps just making worse and worse looking sneakers, and they sell out every time. So he gets the opportunity to, like, Adidas is going to keep funding him if he keeps selling out.
Yeah.
So, like, first it was the fucking foot bags, and it's the 350s with just, like, a big foam rubber and then a slipper on top. And then it's those slides with the big fucking mud soles on them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's just a push to just keep making uglier and uglier and more expensive stuff and watching everyone buy it and having profit off of it.
Yeah, I think we're similarly on the page. It's the same page, but I think you're a little more angry about it.
Usually.
To me, here's what I'm going to say, right? Nobody in the chat is fucking with him. That's because we're a bunch of thorough-ass grown men.
That's right.
Who see right through the bullshit. But what I think is that the Yeezy Foam Runner is the ultimate statement in American business excellence.
Okay.
Okay? Because this guy, he's put out some shoes that were, meh, so-so. You know, like a lot of guys like the Wave Runners. The Wave Runners are okay, right? You know what I'm talking about, right?
They're just the like the knockoff Balenciagas, right? Like they're just the big chunky dad shoe looking ones.
Yeah. They're like okay. The Red Octobers, the early Nikes that he did, they were so-so.
They were weird, but
they were okay.
like they were experimentally weird.
Yeah.
These are just ugly weird.
Mm-hmm. But you're right. He keeps going and making things. It's like in his head.
I think he's clowning everyone.
No, he is.
Yeah.
He has to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
He has to be.
Yeah.
You seen the footage of his fashion show?
Yeah.
Right. Same idea with the sneaks,
Yeah,
right?
and didn't he have, like, before this particular sneaker run, like, didn't he have, like, $300 white T-shirts that he was selling and stuff like that?
I don't know, but probably.
Just to see what would happen.
But here's the thing, though, right? So he's making these sneakers.
Mm-hmm.
They're high-priced.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's a comfortable shoe. I'll give you that.
Okay.
Right? I haven't tried a foam runner on yet. I would like to try one on my foot just to see how it feels.
Okay.
But I can't imagine myself ever actually wearing them anywhere.
Right.
But so he's, you're paying premium price for most likely premium materials, even though they're ugly and funny looking. It's an actual decent product.
I have no doubt about that. I don't think that they're cheaply made. I don't think that they're any more cheaply made than any other Adidas. I think you're buying a $300 shoe that has the elements of a $300 shoe.
Right. Until now.
Well.
Right?
Yeah.
Because he's seen this. He has seen what kind of suckers Americans are.
Yeah.
Right? And he has elevated himself to figure out how to sell the least. He has spent the least on making a product.
Yeah.
To selling it for an astronomical markup.
Mm-hmm.
In like his markup percentage has to be in the thousands between what the foam runner costs and what he's selling it for.
Right.
Now, I don't know what they are MSRP. Maybe you could check it real quick.
I'm trying to find
But I have seen them resale for like $400.
No, $1,100. They're on GOAT for $1,100 right now.
A pair of foam runners for $1,100
Yes.
is fucking ridiculous. But he can't be spending more than $5 or $7 to make it. Probably even less than that. And he looked around and he was like, "Oh, I have these people by the fucking balls." Right? Anything I put out, they're buying.
They're just going to snatch it up.
So now I'm going to put out a product that cost me $7 and put it out for $700 and make a $100,000 markup on this thing.
So
now, if that's not the ultimate in business savvy, I don't know what is.
So for the foam runners, just to kind of go against your point, actually, on Sneaker Bar, when the sand colored foam runners came out, they were retailing at $80. So on the foam runners in particular, he's not killing you on the price for those, but they're still fucking terribly ugly.
Right.
But they were only $80 when they came out.
So he's still at 100%.
Oh, easily. They're a foam mold.
No,
sneaker.
1,000%.
They're a foam
markup.
mold sneaker. Like there's not even kids in China stitching them together. There's a machine. There's a machine
pouring it into a mold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Not an amazing shoe, but amazing business plan that he has gotten to that point to make that kind of money off that. Imagine if I could fucking take this pen, get a whole box of these Johns, and sell each of these pens as a $150 pen because it says the Gig Podcast on it.
Yeah, but hear me out. Right?
I will. I always do.
So if we're right, if we're right that he's just playing a game where he just keeps putting out perpetually more ugly stuff and watching it sell out.
Yeah.
That would theoretically mean that it's selling out because his name is attached, right? So we can get to that point and agree, right?
Yeah.
These are selling like they're selling because they say Yeezy on them, and if they didn't, they wouldn't sell probably. So that means to me, for the same amount of effort that he's putting in designing these ugly fucking things, he could design some badass shit and it would sell out. So why not put the effort into actually making like a classic? I know the 350 people consider that silhouette classic now. It's still not that great to me, but like why not put your effort into doing something amazing if you know that like you could mess up and people will still buy it? So let's try and do the best thing we can do and see how it hits.
There's two ways to go with this. One is that trying to put your effort into something phenomenal takes more time, which then takes away from your bottom line.
Sure.
Which, if he's trying to fuck with everybody,
he just wants the bottom line.
He just wants the bottom line.
Fair enough.
The other way to look at it is that he's not fucking with us, and he really thinks that this is fucking beautiful. Like, he's so far out and so out of touch with what reality is
it's almost
that he's, like, looking at this like, I am creating a piece of art for your foot.
He's almost...
You just melted a crock and fucking called it brand new. You took a crock, stuck it in the oven on fucking 400 for 3 minutes, and then fucking put it in a new box that says Yeezy and sold it to us.
So I guess that is the other option. Is like it's like an exercise in confirmation bias. Like he really thinks this is a beautiful shoe.
We're making him more crazy,
and then it sells out, and he's like, "It was a beautiful shoe. I knew it. Yeah. I can do this forever."
Yeah, this guy is fucking losing his mind, and we're not doing him any favors.
We're pitching in on it.
Yeah, we are fucking causing because Kanye West, when he was fucking making beats with The Rock and wearing pink polos,
he was amazing.
He was not out of his mind like this. And if he was, he kept it hidden like any fucking normal American should.
Right. Tuck it away. Keep it in your chest until you get cancer.
Keep your goddamn crazy in the fucking back closet and deal with it when you're at home. Yeah.
That's the more interesting story is like he lives in a world now at this point, musically and stylistically, where everything he creates it's the Emperor's New Clothes. Everything he creates gets snapped up. So he assumes that it must mean that everything I create is great.
It's phenomenal.
So I'm just going to keep doing whatever I imagine is a good idea because everybody's just going to buy it.
But here's the question, right? Because obviously, her fucking ear's killing her. You got to go downstairs now, rabbit. Here's the question, right?
Right.
So he's putting these things out, and he's saying to himself, well, I keep selling out, so I must be doing things
I must
wonderful.
be hitting the button, yeah.
I must be phenomenal.
Yeah.
When, us and all of the guys in the chat are all normal fucking middle-aged men who look at it and go, this is trash. This is not a fucking nice piece of, footwear or clothing, whatever we're talking about that he's doing, not great music. Why is it that X amount of the population is fucking buying these things? Why have we bought so deeply into Kanye West as a brand that we will let him sell us on anything that he wants to sell us on?
Okay, So there's a lot of moving parts to this, and the thing is, the position he's in now is nebulous. So these sneakers are going to sell out because they're limited, and that's part of the appeal, right? Part of the appeal is I have these sneakers that maybe only 20,000 other people in the country possibly have. So I am unique in that way, A. And B, because this is part of all the culture now, these are now automatically collectibles. Once they all sell out, you see what happens. They all go on GOAT, they all go on StockX, and the value of them goes through the roof. So now you don't even need to care about what they look like yourself, because if you can get your hands on a pair of them, you can flip them for 2 pairs of sneakers that you really like. So they're always going to sell as long as they have this inherent value that's just based on the collectability of them. So now this is where you fall into that pocket of everything he makes sells out, so he thinks he must be doing it right all the time. Then the other thing about his position being nebulous is, like, he can move the goalposts whenever he wants. I made 10,000 shoes. I sold 10,000 shoes. If you don't understand why these shoes are hot, you're not the right age. You're not the right demographic. You're not the right gender. You're not the right something to understand this piece of culture, because it sold out, and that should automatically mean that it was great. So he's ascended to a position where that can happen. He can put out an album, and we can sit here and say, it will never live up to your first 3 albums. It is garbage. You wasted our time and your time making it. And he will say, but 30 million downloads. So you must be wrong. You must have aged out of what I do, or you're no longer smart enough to comprehend what I do. And he can keep moving this. And then the other thing he did was marry a Kardashian for a little while, and that gives him this extra credibility.
It sends him to a new demographic.
Right. It sends him to a new demographic. It gives him extra credibility because for some fucking reason, they have credibility when it comes to certain things. And so now he's playing this game from every fucking angle he can, to where we could be right. He could be sitting here saying, I'm just going to keep making uglier and uglier shit and watch it. Or he could just be sitting there going, everything I touch turns to gold. I'm fucking King Midas. I'm going to keep doing it because it works all the time. And if you don't get it, that's a you problem, not a me problem, because look at how many people buy it. And then look at, once they're sold out, look at how they quadruple in value. Look at how you bought it for $300, you sell it for $1,200. You must be wrong because somebody's fucking paying $1,200 for it now.
So, are we wrong?
No.
I'm always open to maybe being too old for what's cool.
Yeah,
I'm not,
right.
and I haven't yet been, but I'm open to the fact that there's definitely some things that miss me because I'm just not as cool as I was when I was 20.
Yeah, but don't you feel like most of those things that fall into the miss me category, and there are things, and I understand, but most of those things are, they're sort of unique. I'm trying to think of how to phrase it out. Like, sneakers are sneakers. We understand what sneakers are supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And we're not judging whether they're cool or hip. We're saying they're ugly, which is that's a different classification, because ugly things can be cool and hip sometimes.
Yeah.
So we might not understand the appeal from a cool perspective. Like, we might not say, why are the kids buying this? I don't get it. Like, I feel like with a lot of the rap that's out there that you care for, but I don't. I will always say I will listen to it, and I'll see if there's something I like about it, and I'm giving it my full attention because I want to know, and I'm not just shutting it out because, oh, young kids, I don't want to hear young kids. No, I'm going to give it a shot. But a lot of it just fucking escapes me, and it might be because I'm too old. But I'm willing to say, hey, you're not wrong for liking this. Just don't play it around me. I'm just not interested in it.
And so here's the shift, the generational shift, I think, right? Is that even as far back as when you were young.
In the 50s? Black and white TV?
Yeah. there was a general like idea of what is cool. And it was a group consensus kind of, right? And you did the thing that the group decided was the cool thing, whether it was the way to dress, the music to listen to. The generations have shifted to that group consensus is not, if the group is consenting, that automatically eliminates the cool now.
Well, no, I don't.
It's almost like the weirder and the further out and the less understandable or the less desirable a thing is, the newer generation almost looks at it like, oh, like, it's almost like they're pretending. Like, I'm going to pretend that this foam runner is a beautifully crafted, dope-looking shoe just because that makes me have a different perspective. The internet generation,
right.
Everybody has a different perspective. You're somebody special. You ain't nobody special. I'm not nobody special. None of you are nobody special. We're all just people here, right? But that idea of like, oh, well, I have this view on it, and even though everybody else says one thing, I'm pretty cool because I say the other thing.
So a couple things have coalesced because of the ubiquity of the internet, and one of them is there's a group for every taste, right? There's not a taste for every group, but there's a group for every taste.
Yes.
So when I was a kid back in the Stone Ages,
yeah,
I was
1890s.
I was definitely for sure a nerd and a geek. There's no two ways about it.
Correct.
And it was
Elaine told me.
It was the thing. Yeah, I'm sure. It was the thing. Those were the things that kept me out of social circles. Oh, you want to go program on a computer? Get out of here. We want to go play hockey and basketball.
Right.
You want to go watch? You want to read a comic book? You're a fucking loser. Right. Now, nerds are like the culture.
Yes.
They are the culture because when you got to the internet part of it, they all found each other. All the nerds found each other, and they realized, hey, in my school of 400 people, I'm an outcast. But there's a million schools in the country, so there's a million of us. So we're much cooler than we realized because we found all of our common friends. So you put out these ugly fucking sneakers, and in reality, you only need 10, 15,000 people who say, those are pretty cool looking sneakers, or those are at least interesting looking sneakers. And now they all agree with each other, and that's all they need.
Yeah.
Like, that's the confirmation that they need. And you can really find confirmation for anything on the internet. And as much as I love the internet, that's a fucking problem. Because there are things that you should never really find confirmation for that you can find confirmation for. And then it feels like, oh, I'm not as weird as I thought I was, or I'm not as much of a social outcast as I thought I was, because here's 43,000 other people that want to interact with me and talk about similar ideas. And that's not great when it's unmoderated.
No, it shifts the entire social structure of a country.
Right.
As we can see.
Of the world.
Yeah, of the world. Yes, of the world. As we see. And this brings me to we can't get out of here without arguing something political.
Sure, let's do it.
This brings me to what came
what
up today, right?
Okay.
The social, like, we used to, at one point, a majority of the population, I feel, would have looked at Jeff Bezos and said, that fucking guy made it. You know, he's living the American dream. Good for him. Like, we should look at that and say, like, I aspire to get where he is, even though, obviously, who's going to really get there.
Right.
But in order to get where he's at, there's going to be some negative qualities. You have to be willing to step on a few people.
Of course.
But you also have to have some positive qualities. You can't get to being that successful running that type of company without some intelligence, without some business savvy, without some foresight.
Okay, sure.
You know, and some other things.
Right.
So this cultural shift of like 20 years ago, I feel like he would have been more celebrated than now, where I feel like there's this huge movement, and not just Bezos, but anybody who has this large lump sum of money. I feel like there's a large movement that looks at them like, you're like a scumbag because you've made money. When in reality, to me, the goal here are, as much as people would like to say, like, oh, the money doesn't matter, the reality is everybody is playing that game. The money thing, the collect money, get property, have a bank account. Yeah. This is a game that everybody, the capitalist game is a game that everybody is forced to play whether they want to or not.
Okay.
And some people play it very well. Some people play it very poorly. And then most everybody else plays in some spectrum of the middle of that.
Okay.
To me, right, my first thought about a guy who's made billions of dollars is fucking good for him.
Okay.
He figured out how to be comfortable forever and his family to be comfortable for every generation going forward. I think it's a phenomenal thing for him.
Okay.
Go ahead. I know you got a view.
I got a lot of views.
All right, well, give me one of them.
All right. So I'll break this down. I'll address two things. First of all, the problem with Bezos, more than even like a Bill Gates, for example, is that for where he is, he has sucked a lot of resources out of the country. There are roads that are way more trafficked than they used to be without really getting a whole lot more tax money to keep them in repair. There are mailmen that are being worked twice as hard as they used to be because they're now delivering on Sundays and things like that. And then there is a whole portion of his employees that are not getting paid well enough that they qualify for like CHIP or whatever other government programs. So that's a particular problem. So fine, he ascended, fine, he figured out a business plan, fine, he stepped on some backs because you have to. But at this particular point, the country is at least partially funding his success without us having any say in funding his success. So that's a problem, because at the level that he is, for what he's worth, he could be worth slightly less and not be on our teat all the time. So that's a big problem for me with him, is that everybody who works for him full-time should have full benefits and enough money to purchase a modest house in the area where they're working. Now, on that point, I'm going to do my best not to assign blame, because I know that brings out the team game, and I don't want the team game. I don't want my team's better than your team.
We don't play the team game.
I just want you to consider the 1980s was the end of the country that we were pitched. So you're a kid, and we're the greatest country in the world. And we're the only country where a man who's got two nickels to rub together, doesn't have two nickels to rub together, can become a millionaire. We're the greatest country in the world. We have the best army in the world. We have the best citizens in the world. And that's the pitch.
American way.
That's the American pitch. Up until the 80s, even if you were lower middle class, it fucking felt that way. Because, like, even real quick aside, I'll tell you. There's a movie called Inner Space.
Know I'm not familiar.
Right. It's a movie from the 80s. It was a funny movie. It was pretty good. Whatever. In the movie, the main character is a grocery checker who lives in Silicon Valley. The movie's a sci-fi comedy where somebody gets miniaturized and injected into somebody else. And I said to my kid, the most unrealistic thing about this movie is that a grocery checker could live in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And the 80s is where that started to deteriorate, where minimum wage was no longer enough to just exist. Not that a minimum wage worker should be worth millions or anything like that, but like a minimum wage, in the 80s, you could buy a house, it would be in Fairview or something like that, but you could buy a house on full-time minimum wage dollars. You cannot anymore.
No.
So what you've done is you've minimalized the middle class. And the middle class are going to be the loudest about the upper class, right? Because the lower class people, for the most part, and I'm not casting aspersions, the lower class people are so caught up in their own problems that they don't really think outside of their box.
Yeah.
Right? They're concerned with whatever it may be that's keeping them there. A disability, something happened terribly back in the day and they're still paying, whatever it is, they're caught in their small bubble. The middle class are the people, I get up at 7:30, I come home at 6:30, I bust my ass, I'm sweating to death, and in the, up until around the mid 80s, 90s, but look, I got us a house in the suburbs. I got us 2 cars. I got us a picket fence. I got all the American dream shit. So busting my ass equated to some sort of small picture that looks like the American dream. Now, that doesn't happen as easily as it used to. These millennials and ahead are like, I got to work 3 jobs just to afford the fucking rent that I split with somebody else. So when you're in that position where you're breaking your ass all day and still not really feeling like you're getting ahead, now you're going to start to look at the people way above you and like, what the fuck is wrong with those people? Because previously, because you could put your effort in and get your results, you didn't feel like money was a zero-sum game. Now, you spin your wheel all day and you're in the same place, and now you feel like money is a zero-sum game, and you're going to be really angry at the people who, it seems like, are hoarding the money. If you're worth what Jeff Bezos is worth, I think he's worth $108 billion after his divorce.
Right.
That's such a disproportionate amount of money to the money that the rest of the country holds that it becomes a bigger problem. And then you find out he doesn't pay taxes. His companies don't really pay taxes because they play offshore games and things like that. So now not only is he worth this money that, like, if humanity exists for another 50 million years, probably those kids will still be earning interest off of his money.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, well, what the fuck? Why am I in a position where I have to work for this guy and I still need to sign up for CHIP so that my kid can have breakfast in the morning, and he's worth $108 billion? So that divide that started to really cement itself in the 80s is now really coming to fruition now. That and the fucking boomers leached us for all that we had. Just fucking... They came through doors that their parents, which was like the World War II greatest generation people, those people kicked in doors for them. They came through those doors and benefited and then slammed those fucking doors as hard as they could. And now this is the end result of it. The end result is your huddled masses are fucking huddled masses who can't get ahead no matter what they try to do, while other people are lording this money over them, and it's just fucking depressing.
And that, I understand your train of thought, right? And it may and first, let's say this. Sure, it would be great if Bezos decided to pay his lowest guys on the totem pole enough to fucking purchase a house. I would love to see everybody who could purchase a house purchase a house.
Right.
I've also seen... I know 2 guys very well who work in Amazon, right?
Okay.
One guy who's on the bottom tier who just today was telling me, like, I can't fucking do this. This isn't fucking cutting the mustard for me, a check like this.
Right.
Another guy who I talked to a week or two who's a notch or 2 above him who's like, bro, I'm fucking rolling in the money right now, right?
Yeah.
But this is the way the corporate world works.
Of course.
Is the guys on, and this is the way the corporate world has always worked, right?
Yes.
Now,
Yes and no.
Now, let's take, for example, a gentleman who threw away the first 30 years of his life.
Okay.
Felony record, drug problems, family issues, a little bit of homelessness sprinkled in there, and for all means should be a guy who you look at and say, like, ah, man, you're really, you know, I know you're trying to turn it around, but we understand why you can only get a minimum wage job. We understand why you can only find a spot in a warehouse working for $15 an hour, right? You look at my story for 30 years, I should not be able to be anything, right?
No, I disagree with that.
Hold on.
Okay.
I should not, you know, if you look at the story and then you say, all right, where do you think this guy is? Here's his story up to 30.
Right.
Where do you think he is at 35?
Okay.
Right? You say, well, if he got it together, maybe he's got a warehouse job and he's making $13 an hour and
Well,
you know,
yeah,
he's
okay,
this, that,
sure.
and the third, right?
They're making assumptions, but yeah, I understand why they would come to those
But
conclusions.
yeah, you can understand it.
Yeah.
However, instead of me accepting that being my lot in life,
Okay.
I decided that I'm going to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. And I have the drive and the discipline to be just a little bit better than that. Like, I'm not fully fucking comfortable. The bills are paid.
Right.
Some of them might be a little bit behind, but they're going to get paid. Like, but I'm not anywhere near, you know, I am on the lower end of middle class America. I think, right?
Okay.
And none of where I am makes me look at anybody who's won this game, like a Bezos or a Gates or a fucking whoever else has billions upon billions of dollars.
Right.
None of that makes me look at them and say, like, well, what the fuck does this guy have that for? Why the fuck does he have $120 billion and he's not sharing it with me? I don't deserve. This goes back to what I said this a little while back, was you're nobody. Didn't I? Or something like that, right?
Sure.
You're nobody. I'm nobody. We're all nobody.
Right.
There's no reason that I should feel that I deserve anything that he figured out how to make. I don't think that anybody deserves any of what I figured out to make, so much so that I don't even want to pay the fucking taxes to the government because they didn't figure out how to fucking make this money.
Okay.
So for me to get angry at somebody who's playing the same game but better than me,
right,
or has figured out the next level, makes me, to me, I would feel like an asshole for getting angry. That's like me going into, that would be like, let's say you look at Pete Rock, and instead of saying like, that, you know, I idolize Pete Rock, what he's done is phenomenal, I think it's great, like, I love his work, like, I wish maybe one day, if the things fall into place the right way, maybe I get to be Pete Rock's level.
Okay.
Instead of you saying that, you would be saying like, Pete Rock's got all these fucking beats, and he doesn't need to fucking hand out beats like that, and he doesn't need to be making money off that many beats. Like, fuck Pete Rock. He's an asshole for fucking getting successful. And that's how that's the attitude that I kind of hear from a certain, that not everybody, but there's people who are like shitting on people who have made it this super high level of success that we'll never see.
Right.
Instead of like myself just saying like, man, that must be nice, and it would be nice to get there. I don't ever see myself getting there, but good for him. It's the same idea. It's the same way I walk around the world all the time.
Okay.
And I think we know this, is that like, I'm never going to be jealous of the next guy. It's always going to be like, you know what? Good for that dude. Now let me take the next step towards what I'm trying to get to.
Right. So let's talk about a couple things about what you're saying. First, I think you would agree that your success story is not the norm for a person who went through what you went through. Correct? Like, it's not usual for someone to be a delinquent until they were 30 and all of a sudden get their shit together so well that they're running their own business moderately successfully. That's a rare thing, right?
Probably.
Okay. It is. I mean, it definitely is.
I don't like to put myself on any type of
No, I'm not. I'm not putting you on a pedestal yet.
But anybody could do it.
Not anybody could do it. You did it.
If I can do it,
no.
Anybody could do it.
No, that's just not the case. So, because part of what you figured out that a lot of people who come through your path have not or did not is that you're really heavily soaked in the no one owes me anything mentality and the kind of the I'm lucky to be here mentality. So you're embracing a combination of two things that have put you where you are. And one is, like you said, I ain't shit. And if I work hard enough, I can make it seem like I might be shit. Good. Good for you. Congratulations. That's awesome. No one will tell you that it's bad. However, by the same token, you got your shit together, but now it's 7 or 8 years later, And at least once a month on our show, we talk about, I need to get out of this. This is killing me. This is breaking my back. This is breaking my knees. This is killing me. And you and I both know that for the most part, because of the fundamental flaws in the system, even though at this point you've now put together a pretty good resume and a pretty good evidence that you are reformed from what you used to be, there's not a lot of job opportunities for you, right? There's a lot of jobs that you got to check a box that says do a background check, and once they do the background check, they're going to be like,
Yeah, I never checked that box.
I understand, but I know you've worked the last 10 years in construction, and you've got no demerits on your fucking record, and you've got nothing but praise in the Better Business Bureau. But 20 years ago, you smoked crack, so we're not with it. You can't have a job. So you have created for yourself a very narrow path, and you pulled through. Congratulations. I think you're misinterpreting some of the anger towards Bezos as being a personal, you should give me personally money sort of thought process.
Us.
Well, so in a couple years you grow 7-1 and you decide to get a yard. You got a construction yard. And your construction yard backs up to Hargrove. They're big around here, right?
Yeah.
Hargrove's the
demolition.
Right.
Yeah, they're killing it.
Okay. They're doing well for themselves, and it shows all around. Every day, they come through your yard, knock your fence down, spin the tires, and muddy up your lot. Okay? You're going to think that they're assholes for fucking with your property. You're going to go ask them, hey, can you fix my stuff? And he's going to say, sure, but you got to pay for the fencing, and you got to pay for the grass, the sod to lay down to fix it. What are you going to think about Hargrove at that point?
But I don't think that's a realistic scenario.
You got to answer my question.
I would think he's a dick. But
you would think he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And he should pony up the money to repair your shit that he damaged.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Now you apply that to Bezos, like I said.
So tell me what he damaged, because I'm just not aware of what was damaged by Bezos.
Well, let's talk like I was saying, let's talk about his damage, his use of our infrastructure, and his lack of paying back into the infrastructure. The use of the trucks, the use of the planes, the use of everything running all around on the roads, and because he's skirting the taxes, the municipalities don't have the money like they really should have to come back and repave the roads and fix things like that. So there's that part of it. Then there's the other part, like I said, where he's in a lot of in I shouldn't say a lot, in a portion of cases, he's literally taking money from you because he's not paying his people enough to live. Because what happens is, like we said, they go on welfare because they're not making enough they're making so little that they qualify. They go on CHIP. And where does all that money come from? That's coming out of your pocket for your taxes. So he is, in essence, if we boil it down, he is stealing from you to be worth $108 billion. Is he stealing every penny? Is he an evil mastermind? No, he's doing the same shit other people are doing. 100% agree with you. But he is the...
He's doing it on the largest scale.
He's doing it on the largest scale, and he's doing it the loudest. He's building spaceships while he's running 1,000 trucks over 295 and creating potholes. Perhaps, before he builds those spaceships, pay your fair share of taxes. Don't give me back $108 billion. I don't think there are sensible people about this. And then there are people, you're right, there are, oh, he doesn't deserve that because I could never do that. Yes, there are people like that. There's jealous people. But they're not the people that you want to consult when you're having this conversation. You want to consult people who are logical about it, who will say, you know, that whole, like, if he was worth $106 billion, it would be, he probably wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
And that $2 billion back into the infrastructure, back into the pay scale, would do worlds of good for the rest of the country. So now you have to start to question his morality on a grand scale, not a little scale, I'll step on some backs and get ahead, on a grand scale, that he's willing to sit there and be worth what he's worth while he's taxing the country and laughing about it. So you're going to really get some anger from people who are really thinking it through. There's always jealous people. There's probably right now somebody who you didn't realize you spent time with in the clink going, fucking Sean, how did he get a fucking construction job and I'm still in the alleyway shooting dope? This motherfucker doesn't deserve it any more than I deserve it. There's going to be jealous people all the time. But there's actually a sensible reason to be really fucking irritated at these people who are astronomically rich and not putting back into the system like they're supposed to, like you have to do all the time. If you didn't pay your taxes, they show up at your door. Hey, Sean, now you got to pay all these taxes and some penalties. That's all that most people are asking, is that the burdens that you carry, just because you're super rich, you shouldn't get to escape those burdens unless you can put it on the books that you're completely a net gain for the country. So if Jeff Bezos, just for argument's sake, let's work through this. He had his own team for infrastructure, and every road he used more than 10% of the time, he sent his own team to repave it once every 6 months. And he pays everybody in the company at least $30 an hour. Now I'm going to say to you, okay, look, this guy's worth $100 billion, but look at what he's doing. You can leave him alone on the taxes because he's actively putting back into the country. So I'll leave him alone. Maybe what it costs him to repave and pay everyone isn't as much as he would pay in taxes, but because he's actively doing that, I'm going to leave him alone. This is the opposite. He's vacuuming up money from your house, and you're just like, cool, that guy really did well for himself.
Well, we're giving him the money.
Yeah.
Also, I don't blame. We'll leave it at this because we really killed the entire live talking about this.
I'm sure.
I don't blame Bezos. He's doing the same thing that any of us would want to do.
Okay.
And that's avoid paying taxes.
Sure.
Not having to pay taxes.
Okay.
I would shift blame to our government that's crooked and not going to collect and not making him pay taxes.
Perfectly reasonable
More
shift.
so. And
Sure.
so the anger should be shifted, and we should all be anarchists, and fucking the strong survive. God damn it.
Okay.
But, listen, we both brought some points to the table. We discussed it a little bit. We don't even have to come to a resolution because there is no real resolution.
Well, there is, and you're absolutely right. The government says, okay, now there's a new tax rate, and then they actually hire enough IRS agents to enforce it.
But they won't, because the tax he pays is the under-the-table tax into whoever's pocket it goes into.
Which is another whole show.
Yeah, we could go back to crooked politicians.
Yeah.
And disgusting
crooked
DAs.
Supreme Court justices.
Yeah, all that.
Yeah, for sure.
But we won't.
It is a deeper problem than just one or two people having very, very fat wallets. Yes, of course.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But I think that was I think we were on fire until we started talking about Bezos.
They bailed. Bezos cut us off.
They were like, that's fucking enough of that. They probably did. Facebook heard us talking about their boy.
They go, easy.
Yeah. Take it easy.
He advertises with us a lot.
So what do we got going on? There's you know what? I haven't mentioned it in a while.
Okay.
And there is gumroad.com/Sean Cove that has some literary things for you to purchase. I promise that, let's put a date on it.
Okay.
I promise within a year.
Okay.
July
1, 2022.
July 1st, 2022.
Okay.
There will be a book available written by me of life stories or based on my life stories. And I promise it's going to be probably the best book you ever read, but just hang tough. Stick with us. In the meantime, you can hear me tell the stories sporadically as they come up in our discussions every Friday night on the Gig Podcast. But I am going to, that is one of the next moves.
Okay.
Because one day I hope to, you're right, I hope to completely get the fuck out of swinging a hammer.
Yeah.
And be.
It's a young man's game.
7-1 entertainment.
Right.
And bring you a podcast every week that earns me. I don't even need to make a lot. I just want to make enough that I can focus solely on the podcast.
Right.
Or solely on, literary projects. Or maybe we fucking expand out and get into the film game. I don't know.
Okay.
Things like that. So I'm putting my word on it that within a year there will be a book available from me, whether it's self-published or we find a publisher to do it for us, or it's just Renegade published on fucking some website somewhere that you can put it onto your Kindle.
You can publish it through Amazon.
Yeah, and I will. So gumroad.com/Sean Cove. That stuff's available if you're looking for something to read and kill a couple minutes of your day. We're here every Friday, 9 p.m. We're on Facebook. I don't know. Did you happen to look through the YouTube and see if anything was going on there while we were recording?
I wasn't able to, but I see we have somebody on Twitch right now, so that's nice.
That's dope. What's up, Twitch? Facebook was kind of popping today, so
Good.
if you're
like
listening to this on the replay, just know that if
Join us.
if you show up 9 o'clock on Sean Cove's Facebook page, you can hop in the chat and talk with the boys.
Be on time for work.
Yeah, don't be late for work.
That's right.
Show on up, chat with the boys. They had a bunch of hot chats, and they added a bunch. I appreciate these guys because
awesome.
they add to the conversation and help us see some, touch on some different things.
The interaction makes it way more fun.
Yeah,
like it's
love
fun.
it.
It's fun for us to be here, but the interaction is like a whole nother level of it.
That's why when we started this thing, the live thing I felt was such an important aspect because we are a radio show.
Yeah.
We are a radio show here on the internet that is also available for playback.
Right.
Which is why we're so much better than regular radio because you
You gotta
can't
catch it or you missed it.
Yeah, that's it. And you really want to catch it on Friday night.
Of course.
Well, it's live, and you can be in the chat, and the other guys are talking, and you can get in the mix. Might even get a shout out. Might even get a topic discussed.
You play your cards right. We could call you and put you on the air.
We might. I have.
That's how radio show we are.
I have been discussing maybe a call-in from the legendary JP.
Oh.
The JP.
DJ, what, Iowa?
AK JP from Iowa.
Okay.
Now, if you listen back to episode maybe 5, 6, you got to listen to all of them.
Yeah, you do.
You'll learn about who JP is and why he's such a gangster.
This whole show is like one long, like back in the day in the movies, they used to have these things called serials, which essentially was like a TV show. You had to go every couple weeks to see the next episode, and it was all one long story. That's what this show is. You got to start from 1 to really get into 27 because there's a lot that happened along the way.
That's true. You need to ride with us, and you learn about me.
Right.
You learn about the dynamic with Payday.
Right.
You learn kind of how we move. You hear a bunch of funny stories, and you'll know what we're referencing when we tell you that the Loud Porn's latest release is coming out next week.
Coming out.
It's coming.
Pocket tease.
Loud Porn pocket tees coming next week. So that's about it. If like I said, live show Friday nights 9 p.m. on YouTube at the channel is called the Gig Podcast channel. So you got to type in the channel at the end, or you might not find it. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcast. You can get the audio playback. We're on Facebook Live on Friday nights. We're also on Twitch on Friday nights, the Gig Podcast channel. So come on and join us. If you want to hit me up, Cove at paydayjones.com. You want to hit Payday up, it's paydayjones at paydayjones.com.
I'm on Twitter, too, at paydayjones.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, but don't bother. I never look at it.
I don't necessarily look at it, but my Twitter will pop up like a text message.
You get the notifications. Yeah, I mean, if you at me, I'll probably get the notification, but I don't really do the Twitter thing. I haven't found it to be entertaining. I'm mainly a Instagram, Facebook guy.
Text messages everybody else can see.
Also, let me give a big shout out to Stevie Franks.
Yeah.
Who has been helping us along the way with all of our logos and designing things like that. And he will design, I believe it's not DAI Industries, DAI something. I'm sorry, Stevie. But his business, you can hit Stevie Franks up. His business is that of building logos and helping to build brands. Also, he raps good. So if you're looking for somebody new to listen to, check out Stevie. That's that. It is what it is. It never what it was.
Sure thing.
And it won't be what it's going to be until it gets there. And that's it.
That's deep.
I'm out of here.